Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here again. It's a shame that I can't be there face to face as I was 2 years ago at the BBELT conference, but I'm still very, very grateful to the British Council for inviting me to speak at this wonderful event. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some ideas with you. Now, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about the Hands Up Project, first of all. So the Hands Up Project is an award-winning charity. We are based in the UK, but we work mainly with young people in Gaza and other parts of occupied Palestine, and also Syrian refugees who live in the big refugee camps in Jordan. And what we do is we connect young people in these contexts to other young people around the world for online storytelling, drama activities, and communication activities. And behind me, this is Dahlia refugee camp, one of the largest refugee camps in the world. And in this refugee camp, there are lots of schools where kids go to school and they study English. And they study English using what we would call a broadly communicative approach to language learning, as they do in many parts of the world. Now, just let's remind ourselves of what a communicative approach looks like. So the communicative approach is based on the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate real meaning. When learners are involved in real communication, their natural strategies for language acquisition will be used, and this will allow them to use the language. This will allow them to learn to use the language. And there's an example there, practicing question forms by asking learners to find out personal information about their colleagues. Now, this is from a wonderful website called teachingenglish.org, British Council website, wealth of resources for teachers anywhere around the world. So that's the communicative approach. And we all love to say that we use the communicative approach. But there are a lot of problems in most classrooms around the world. Certainly in Gaza, it's very difficult to practice question forms meaningfully. I mean, if one student asks another student, "Where are you from?" they're all going to say the same answer. "What did you do last night when you finished school?" Everyone's typically going to say the same answer. So the communicative approach is wonderful, but in practice, it's very, very difficult to do it in a kind of meaningful way. And this is how the Hands Up Project has been so successful, because what we do by linking people in Palestine to volunteers around the world is we give them an actual need to use English communicatively with other people in another context. And this makes that communication motivating, and it actually, I would argue, makes it more rich, or makes it richer in learning. So I'd like to share with you today 3 ideas that we use in the Hands Up Project. And I'd also like to welcome you to invite your students to participate in these activities. They're all free, absolutely, completely free. So the first one, let me just change my virtual background. The first one is a new course that we started at the end of last year. It's called the Hands Up Project Certificate in Online Intercultural Communication. And this is open to young people ages 13 to 15, anywhere in the world. They don't need to have a very high level of English. They just need to be able to communicate in English. And let's just look at if your students are interested in participating in that course, please send us an email and we will register them. They need to send us a video of themselves talking about why they want to do the course. But just look at what we said on the website. I mean, I think this fits in very well. I'm just going to have to move out of the way of the camera for a bit. But I think this fits in very well with the ideas of the communicative approach. Successful intercultural communication isn't about using complex words or having a detailed knowledge of the past perfect continuous tense. It's the ultimate 21st century skill, and it's about using English to really connect to people from other countries and cultures and to share your story with them. So that's kind of a basic principle of what we do in the Hands Up project. And I'd just like to give you a kind of specific example of that now. So one of the things that we do is the idea of show and tell. You know, we all know show and tell in a face-to-face classroom. Students bring something along to the class to talk about, something that means something to them, and other students listen. So it's very communicative. But if we do it when people are in different countries, it becomes very, very interesting. So here's a show and tell session that we did with students from Burma, China, Ecuador, Palestine, Spain, and the UK. So I'd just like to play a specific example where this girl, she's a 15-year-old girl based in Spain, and she's talking about a pair of socks. Okay, great. Your turn, Vanessa.
Okay. Well, I'm Vanessa. I'm 15 years old, and I'm also from Spain. And I'm going to talk about these socks, this pair of socks. That a friend of my mother gives to me. Well, the drawing of the sock is a painting by Van Gogh, who is one of my favorite artists. It inspires me a lot because I want to study art. And well, they have a special meaning because it's reminding me that I need to follow my dreams, even if the career I want to study don't have so much future, but well, they're cute. Yeah. So colorfully and bright, the colors of them.
They're great. So
yes.
Do you actually wear the socks, or do you just keep them?
No.
You never wear them?
I wear them because, well, you know, so, but I have in my room to see them. Oh,
yeah,
I need to dream. Yeah,
they're great. Can you just hold them up to the webcam so we can see them
yes.
really well? So Van Gogh, it's a Van Gogh painting.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Vanessa.
Oh.
Okay, anyone else who hasn't spoken? So I think we can see how motivating this is for students. Here's another example where Rima in Tubas, a small town in Palestine, is talking about a mug. It's just a very simple mug that she's got, but it means something to her and she's talking about it. And I think the interesting thing about these sessions as well is how much spontaneous language comes up. So when Rima had finished talking about her mug, I went and found my own mug, which is from the same place, and showed it. And then another teacher in Palestine as well brought her mug along and showed that. So it's very spontaneous, very motivating, very engaging for students. We're now going to hear from a teacher, Hands Up project volunteer called Elena, who's from Serbia. And she's very experienced in doing these kinds of intercultural sessions, and she's just going to tell us her views. So this is obviously a kind of a fun activity for students to do, but is there any learning happening in these kinds of events?
Definitely. I mean, it is definitely fun and interesting for all students taking part in it. And I think there is a lot of learning happening, but it's wonderful to see that that learning is not forced. And the students are not even aware of how much they're learning, and not only about the language itself, but about the culture and the way how to interact with children from around the world and us volunteers. So it's it was amazing experience in both projects, in both show and tell and intercultural communication project, because in the first one, not only was it related to the language, but also the activity itself was so personalized that all the students taking part of it were enjoying immensely. And it was wonderful to see how happy they were to show a piece of themselves and something they really like to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, the intercultural communication project that we had was also wonderful. And it was great to see how much progress the students have made throughout the course, and how liberated they were by the end of it. And the ones who were maybe shy and quiet at the beginning, they just opened up and they came up with most amazing ideas.
Well, that's really interesting. So, because I mean, you're not explicitly focusing on language in these sessions at all. So
no.
Do you ever feel that students think, wait a minute, we're not doing it, we're not learning anything because we're not focusing on any language? Do you ever feel that? Or
I mean, I don't know. I don't think they see these sessions as typical classes, you know? So I don't think that they expect to get any language tutorials and to be told how to say and what to say and which grammar structures to use. So that's why I think it was really good for them to acquire the language somehow unconsciously. But then if they were repeating the sessions, I think they would become more aware of what we were doing with them, especially in the intercultural communication project, because we had the same group of students throughout the whole 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So they got used to it. And for example, what I found very useful for them was that they learned how to communicate between one another.
Yeah.
And I think it was easier for them to express themselves later on because we were giving them language tools.
Yeah.
But they were not forced.
Right. It's interesting. It's always the same, isn't it? It's interesting how when we explicitly focus on language and we think, you know, you're going to, by the end of the lesson, you're going to have learned this area of grammar, or you're going to have learned these vocabulary items. Sometimes it doesn't actually work, and they're possibly likely to learn more by not explicitly focusing on things. Like you say, it's a kind of, they're acquiring language, perhaps.
I agree, and because there is a real purpose to it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that they were doing had a purpose, and they were constantly active, and they wanted to participate, and they wanted to express themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that real learning does happen when there is a particular personalized purpose.
Yeah, so it kind of ties in really with the whole sort of ideas behind the communicative approach, doesn't it? I mean, that you're learning by expressing yourself, finding out about other people, rather than focusing explicitly on language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just wonderful to see how from the beginning, I mean, working with students from all over the world, for example, in show and tell sessions, where we had different students every week, whereas in the communicative and communication program, there was this real need for them to ask each other questions and to use English to ask for explanations. And if they didn't understand what the other person was saying because of their accent or because they come from a completely different culture. It was, I think that they learned how to actually communicate with people from other countries, which I don't think it would be possible any other way.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Elena.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks.
So it's important to emphasize that none of these initiatives would have happened had it not been for the COVID-19 crisis. So the fact that people in Palestine were couldn't go to school and couldn't do our regular sessions, and so suddenly we were finding we were doing online sessions for them, and they were connecting to people in other parts of the world. And one of the things we did was we developed these Facebook Live sessions. So we started developing English for Palestine curriculum-based sessions, and we decided to work with 2 teachers. So here's Sahar in Gaza, teacher of English in Gaza, and she's working with her friend Lauren, who's from Australia. And together they're delivering the curriculum. And this had a lot of advantages, actually, because it meant that lots of people could attend the sessions just using a mobile phone. So we ended up having people from all over the world and attending these sessions. And also we've got a nice thing going on where people are able to write things in the comments here. So I think Saha's asked a question, what's your favorite hobby? And everyone's writing comments. So Luai has written there, my favorite hobby, it's playing parkour. And then of course there's a wonderful opportunity for people to scaffold that. So as a teacher, I'm there in the comments, and there are lots of other teachers around the world doing this. And I'm able to comment on Luai's comment and say, oh, that's a wonderful hobby, Luai. Where do you do parkour? So I'm kind of scaffolding his interaction. So we're going to hear a short example of another team, Elena, who's based in Spain, and her partner, Dahlia, based in Gaza, and they're going to be doing a grade 4 session. I just want to show you a little snippet of how that works. And then we'll go straight into Elena talking about the advantages of having 2 heads rather than 1.
Hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
My name is Dahlia. I'm Dahlia. What's your name?
My name is Elena. I'm Elena.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. Let me show you. Oh, not very good, but this is how you spell my name. Elena. So Dahlia, where are you from?
From Palestine.
Oh,
I'm from Palestine.
that's great. Do you know
And
what?
where are you from?
I'm from Spain. Do you know where Spain is?
Spain? Sorry, I don't know where Spain is. So can you tell me about your country?
I will. Look at this. I've got a map here for you. I hope you can see it. And this is a map of one part of the world. Can you see it? Of one part of the world that we all know very well. This is the Mediterranean Sea. So imagine Palestine is right over here on this side, as you already know. Well, Spain is here.
Oh, it's far away.
It's very far away. And I live here in Barcelona.
Are 2 heads better than 1?
Well, I would say the answer is definitely and obviously yes. And I have thought of two very specific examples from the practice that Dahlia and I have been practicing in our sessions that prove why. One of them is thinking about the fact that one of the key roles of teachers is acting as a model for the students. And isn't it great to have, two models instead of one? And better still, isn't it great to be able to experience the sort of kind of language that you're trying to teach the students in a sort of real live interaction? I mean, just to give you, a more specific example of what we're doing, Dahlia and I, in all of our sessions, we didn't used to, but it's just so great that we do it every time now. We have a little model conversation with the very, very, very basic language that the students need to learn. For example, this week we have, what do you do at the weekend? And it's so great to, even if you're stuck with, really sort of specific language and we want to keep it to a certain structure and everything else, isn't it fantastic to be able to give real answers to the students, to talk about it to each other, to just ask each other about it? I'm genuinely interested in what Dahlia does at the weekend because I don't know, and I'm pretty sure she's genuinely interested in what I do. And furthermore, with this particular question, you even get that extra dimension of the, with the fact that, the weekend days for her are different than mine. So she'll be talking about Friday and Saturday, and I'll be talking about Saturday and Sunday, and having all of that sort of cultural background as part of such a simple conversation linguistically is just so amazing and so engaging for the students. I don't know, I just think it's absolutely great.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we've been practicing, which I think is really useful, particularly for sort of the kind of live sessions that we've been doing in the Hands Up project through Facebook, where we don't get to interact with the students directly. We don't get to see them and we don't get to do things with them. And the fact that you have two teachers interacting with each other allows you to do a very simple thing, which is play the role of the student. And that, if you apply it to things like games, can be really, really cool, because what happens is you can play a game, maybe a game that is not perfectly suited to play with 9-year-olds looking at a chat window, because that's very difficult for them to sort of work with, but you give them the model for them to go away and play with each other. So when we introduce a game, we actually introduce the elements of prep so that they can do their own prep and they can go away and play the game in the same way that me and Dahlia did. And to be honest, the students love watching us win and lose, and sort of supporting us. Yeah. I think they favor her because she's their teacher, but I don't mind. Yeah. So I think that's also an amazing reason why it's such a great idea to have two teachers.
I mean, it just reminds me of, when I used to teach face-to-face classes, and you'd kind of set up a pair work activity, and actually students don't do the activity because they don't really understand what they've got to do. So just having two people who do know what they've got to do, modeling the behavior, modeling the activity and modeling the language just seems such a brilliant thing. Yeah.
And being able to model the sort of element of sort of fun and engagement, the fact that it's spontaneous, the fact that we are sort of improvising and actually playing the game or whatever it is we're doing, or having that conversation about the weekend, means that they're more excited about it themselves. This is in the nature of especially young children. Something that you show excitement about is really likely to get them excited, and because of the fact that it's a sort of genuine exchange and a genuine game, works really well in that sense. It's just amazing.
Fantastic.
Okay. The other sort of technical aspect to it, I think, is that in these kinds of Facebook Live sessions, it's really useful to have someone actually leading the the sort of interaction with the students, and the other person watching the chat box more specifically. And that's something that Dahlia and I have kind of fallen into as a dynamic rather than something planned. We try to give each other, we try to decide who is leading what and what the other person's role is going to be every time, but we kind of don't follow our own sort of plans. But we definitely do have a point in which one of us is specifically focusing on the chat, because when you have one teacher, that can be pretty confusing, and it kind of leads to a lot of, wait a second, let me look at here, let me look at that, which you kind of save when you have to teach. It's just two voices.
Yeah. Do you think, I've just thought something else as well. I mean, do you think it makes a difference, the fact that one of you is from the same cultural context as the students and one of you isn't? I mean, are there advantages and disadvantages in not being from the same cultural context?
I mean, the immediate answer to that is that when we do these sessions, because of the level of the students, and because of the fact that we do, although we plan it a little bit and try to sort of focus on specific language points, we do go off and sort of speak in sort of a level that might be a bit too hard for the kids. So when it's anything that they definitely need to understand, Dahlia will go away and actually translate it for them, which I think is great. I mean, I think the idea of, selectively using the first language is really great, and having one person that can do that is amazingly useful. And I think having one person that can't do that also has its advantages, because there's a sort of point in which in order to communicate with me, their only alternative is English, and they have to use it. However, if there is a need for, they also can rely on their teacher in their context to use their language. But that's from the point of view of language use. From the cultural point of view, I wonder. I mean, there's I can only think of sort of very obvious, very small things like the students' names. However much I practice my Arabic alphabet, I cannot in a live session read people's names when they're written in Arabic. I just can't do it. Or even things like, realizing, and this is, makes me really feel ashamed, but, being able to tell girls and boys apart, I can't even do, because I don't recognize the names. And sometimes, Dahlia can tell that it's the mom that is writing. So the name of the Facebook name is the mom's name, but the kid who's actually speaking is a boy or something like that. I can't do that. That's completely out of my reach. That kind of thing, which is important for, for students to feel included. Sure. I am not able to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she is.
I mean, I suppose there's also something about there's an advantage in you not being from their culture in a way, because I think what often happens in these sessions is that students want to tell you things about what they eat, how they live, and it's obviously not the same for them to tell their teacher who lives in the same context as them. So they're kind of talking about the ingredients of a dish or something. There's a real kind of communicative need.
Yeah, because I don't know.
Because you don't know it.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's kind of the two dimensions. On the one hand, if they're trying to tell me something about their culture, because Dahlia knows it, she can help them. And on the other hand, the fact that I don't know means they have a reason to want to tell me about that. So I think there's a balance in all of those senses, which again comes back to our original question. Are two heads better than one? And there's not one reason why I can think of that would lead me to answer no to that question, because I don't know. Sorry.
No, I suppose there's also something about the fact that Dahlia has gone through the process that they're going through of learning English as a native speaker of Arabic. So she kind of knows what the massive issues are for them, what things are difficult about English for them.
That's a good point.
And
also, I also thought about something else, which is specifically to do with pronunciation. The fact that they hear, we're having a conversation, often slightly scripted. If we're talking about these dialogues, we do script them a little bit because we want to focus on specific structures. Scripted means I've written in a Word document, what do you do at the weekend? And underneath it says, on Fridays I, on Saturdays I. That's as scripted as it is, kind of thing. But the fact that those very specific, very common words are said by me and by Dahlia almost at the same time, as a sort of question answer, means that they hear how we are using two often quite different ways of pronouncing things, and yet the communication is happening despite that, and it completely doesn't matter, and it kind of gives them confidence in feeling that pronouncing this. They don't need to pronounce words in the same way as I do at all. It doesn't, and I think that it does a lot towards confidence. English is not the English that I speak or the English that Dahlia speaks. It's all of it, and it doesn't, it doesn't stop us from communicating with each other at all. And I think that's, really valuable for the students.
Brilliant.
We could go on and on about this forever.
I know we could. Now, the last initiative that I'd like to tell you about is one related to drama. And as you may know, the Hands Up Project has been advocating and using drama activities, online drama activities, for a long time now. And one of the things that we do is we run a competition. And this year, because of everyone being at home, stuck at home, not being at school, we decided to do the competition in a slightly different way. So we developed this form of theatre, which we call lockdown theatre. So students had to make a play. They had to take a script from our first book. This is a book of plays written by young people in Palestine, 5-minute plays. They had to take a play from this book and rework it so that each actor was acting with an individual webcam. Now, a group of teachers, one teacher in particular, Hannah Mansour, a brilliant Palestinian teacher of English, decided to really challenge herself, and she ended up with a performance, a lockdown theatre performance of a play called Live Your Life, with students in Argentina, Gaza, Spain, and Romania. So incredible thing. There's a 5-minute play. We're going to watch the whole play in a minute. This is Live Your Life, performed by students in lots of different countries.
Life is sweet. I have lived my life in every single detail. Though I'm getting older, I'm still strong enough to go on. I still have my teeth, healthy. Here's my son and his wife. They are always complaining.
Come on, Abu Mahmoud! Hurry up! Listen, Abu Mahmoud. I am worried about our daughter's future. I want years to pass fast. This year, I want them to get married. And this year, I want them to have babies. And in this year, I feel relieved and free from responsibilities.
That's true, dear. Girls are a heavy burden. What shall we do?
That's nonsense. Let the girls live their lives normally.
Grandpa.
Hi, sweetie. Have you finished your book?
Sure. It's wonderful, Grandpa. Oh, how much I love books. It's my favorite. Imagine, Grandpa, I dream of the day in which I get the first rank in the reading competition. All social media will talk about me. I will be very famous.
That's great, Dina. I hope you'll do it one day. But I have a different dream. I like making clothes and design. I want to be a famous designer. And I think celebrities will wear my designs too. But I promise you, Grandpa, you will wear my first design. It will be a fabulous suit.
I'm sure of that, honey. I'm so proud of you.
This and this? Ah, throw them away! Take off the glasses and the books, the scissors and the clothes. Come here, look at me. You wear glasses. You won't marry. What will people say? You have a defect. No one will marry you. Forget about reading. Think of yourself as a beautiful bride. And you, take these high heel shoes. You look taller and prettier, like a lady. This will bring you more handsome grooms. Oh God, how can I overcome these problems? One wears glasses and the other is too short.
Easy, easy, dear. Everything will be all right. Calm down.
Come here, my son.
Yes, Dad.
Your daughters are gracious and kind, but they need to live their own lives. Every girl has her own dream, and she enjoys her life as it is. Don't push them too soon or too hard. We're in 2020. We can rush out the years. Take things slowly. And you, granddaughters, Naya, Dina,
Yes, Grandpa.
don't let anyone destroy your dreams and your future. Live life happily and normally.
This is our life. We want to enjoy it.
Mom, Dad, please don't pressure us. We love you, parents.
It's beautiful, stunning work, and hats off to Maria, Laura, Maribel, and Hannah, the teachers involved, who managed to create this incredible live performance. Some people watching that might think that's lots of videos that have been put together. It's not. It was performed live through Zoom, and it's been performed live on Facebook, and it's going to be performed at different schools around the world now. So we're going to hear now from Hannah, one of the teachers, about what the benefits of doing this kind of intercultural drama, creating a play are.
And for example, regarding their English, their levels of English, the first thing that they are dealing with script, with lines, and they need to act them, and they need to deliver those lines in the best way they could. So they need to focus on their pronunciation, they need to focus on their intonation too, a lot of things regarding their English, so they can deliver the message of the play very clearly to their audience. And this is, like, I would say, this is the first thing. Also regarding their English, they're involving the students in meetings, like that we were doing like meetings for 2 weeks, like each day, involving them in those meetings with other children and with other teachers, all of us speaking English in those meetings. I think this is a great experience for them to use the language in a real context with people from different countries. It's not like I would say a metaphorical context or virtual context, but this is a real context to talk with children, with peers of age similar to their age. So this was also another wonderful thing for them. And they have learned a lot of things to regarding their dialogues, regarding their conversation and their speaking too. And I would say like absolutely their communication skills have developed a lot regarding this experience. And they were making friends from another countries, and they were so happy and so excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, we kind of sometimes insist on students using English in the class.
Yeah.
Like we might insist on them using English in their classes in Gaza, in their normal classes.
Yeah.
But here, they actually have to use English, don't they?
Yes.
There's no other way of them communicating and no other way of making the play if they can't talk in English. And so I think it's a very rich learning environment, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, because they need to communicate with their peers, and they have no other language that could be understood and could be intelligible for them. So using English is their best means of communication.
Yeah. What about kind of cultural aspects to it? Was there any kind of cultural learning that was happening in the play?
Yeah, like it's not regarding the play itself, but it's regarding what is happening with each student in his or her own country. Like, for example, my girls had a chance to know more about about Christmas and about New Year's Eve celebrations, and because the students have to not come to and not attend some of the meetings. So they were saying that they are celebrating Christmas and they're celebrating the New Year's Eve. And my students were curious kind of to know about these celebrations and to talk about them. And there was this kind of dialogues about them.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you might get that in a course book. You know, you might have something about Christmas or about different festivals around the world, but to actually really talk to somebody in that context who's experiencing those festivals must be completely different and much richer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's correct.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the technical side of this? I mean, some people have seen this play and they've thought, everyone's made a video and then they've put it together somehow. But it wasn't done like that. It was made live with everybody. So, I mean, wasn't that a nightmare to do that? Or how did that?
I wouldn't say that it was a nightmare. It was a very beautiful dream, I would say. And I don't want to make this look very fancy and very beautiful, but it really was, you know. And to talk about it like technically, we were meeting like very successive meetings on Zoom and doing a lot of rehearsals on Zoom too. And we were focusing on the students and how they could deal with the camera very well, because this is their, you know, window to the world and to the audience there. So if they are dealing with a camera in a good and lovely and very expressive way, their message is going to be delivered clearly. So we were focusing on how they deal with the camera, and on how the characters should move, on how the characters, when they should appear, when they should turn their video on, when they should turn it off, in synchronization to what is happening actually in the play. Like some scenes, there's no grandpa there. So why the grandpa needs to have the video on all the scenes? So they just could turn the video off and leave the stage, I would say, to the other characters, for example.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes. And maybe some people, when they've watched it, like notice some technical things of passing things like through the camera, for example. Yeah. And sometimes one of the characters, I just want to say this, for example, and I want to say that this boy just came with that out of his own mind. We didn't tell him to do it. He was there alone, and he was supposed to talk to two characters, and he was doing like that, Naya, Dina, and he was like, he's talking to people there, and he was looking to the right and looking to the left. So even the children who were involved in this experience, they have developed their I would say their thoughts and their ideas about remote theater, or how to deliver a play remotely through the camera. They were kind of experts at the end of this experience.
Fantastic. Great. And you said, I mean, do you think that they formed kind of lasting friendships through this? I mean, do you think they'll stay in touch?
Well, they really would love to. And for example, for us, for the teachers, because we keep on doing some kind of sessions to join the students together. So they would meet again, and they were also meeting in the live shows together. So I think this kind of a friendship would last.
Brilliant. Wow. It's a wonderful play, and I hope you get another opportunity to perform it somewhere, well, lots of other opportunities to perform it. And I hope as well that this is the beginning of a kind of continued collaboration between your school and your students and their schools and their students, and that you carry on making this brilliant lockdown remote theatre together. Seems to me like a very, very rich learning experience and a very rich personal development experience as well. So
yeah, indeed, yeah, that's correct.
So that's it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've seen through the examples that we've given of the Hands Up Project's work, how many of these activities really are at the heart of what the communicative approach is all about. And I think whilst the corona pandemic has been a huge crisis for everyone in the world, there is some new ways of working that have come out of this. And I hope that you would be interested, or your students might be interested in getting involved in some of these activities. If you're interested in your students participating in our online intercultural communication skills course, send us an email at info@handsupproject.org, starting at the beginning of March, once a week. If you'd like to attend our, incidentally, that link also has information about our remote theatre course for teachers of English anywhere in the world, also free, completely free, once a week. And if you're interested in your students attending our free Facebook Live curriculum-based sessions, please join those, have a look at our Facebook page, and get in touch with us if you'd like some support in creating an amazing intercultural remote theatre project with your students. Thanks very much.